My son gave me an ultimatum. Either you serve my wife, or you get out of my house. I stood frozen for a moment, feeling the floor open up beneath my feet. Then I simply smiled, grabbed my suitcase, and left in silence. A week later, 18 missed calls. You know that moment when you look at someone you carried in your arms, cared for during feverish nights, taught to take their first steps, and you no longer recognize anything. That is exactly how I felt when my son, Mike, looked me in the eyes and said those words. But let me go back a bit. That Tuesday had started like so many others. I woke up at 6 in the morning. I made fresh coffee, toasted bread with butter, and scrambled eggs with melted cheese. The house smelled like real food. You know, that aroma that makes anyone run downstairs to the kitchen. I was seasoning the filling for our lunch. I was frying onions in butter, feeling the scent rise when I heard her heels clicking against the floor tiles. Jessica entered the kitchen like someone stepping into a boxing ring. Tight beige dress, perfect hair, flawless nails. She grabbed a spoon, tasted the filling, and made that face. That face I already knew so well. Mr. Robert, this is bland. It tastes like hospital food. She threw the spoon into the sink with a loud metallic clank. Can you not make anything decent? I took a deep breath and counted to 3 in my head. Jessica. The filling is seasoned, just like I have always done it. Mike has always liked it this way. Exactly. Mr. Robert. Always the same. Can you not see that things need to change? She crossed her arms, looking me up and down. By the way, since we are on the subject, that rag you left hanging in the front of the house is ridiculous. The neighbors are going to think trashy people live here. I felt a tightness in my chest. That rag had embroidered sunflowers. I had stitched it point by point during the sleepless nights after my Mary passed away. But I swallowed my pride. I did not answer. That was when Mike appeared. My son, my only son, walked into the kitchen with that tired expression. Deep, dark circles. A crooked tie. He did not even really look at me. He only looked at Jessica, who put on that childish, spoiled girl voice. Baby. I cannot take it anymore. I cannot stand living in this constant tension. Your dad does not respect our space. He does not respect my things. He acts like he still owns everything around here. My heart began to beat faster. Wait. My house, my things, Mike sighed, rubbed his hand over his face, and said, Dad, we have to fix this right now. Either you drop this stubbornness, accept that things have changed, and start cooperating with Jessica, or you pack your things and find somewhere else to live. I cannot stand this environment anymore. The world stopped. I looked at my son, searching that face for a trace of the little boy I had carried, the one who used to wake up screaming from a nightmare and would only calm down in my arms. I searched for the man who, on his college graduation day, had hugged me in tears and said, Dad, everything I am, I owe to you. I found none of that. I only saw a stranger, a man I did not know. Something very strange happened inside me in that instant. It was not anger. It was not immediate sadness. But peace, a freezing, definitive peace. Like when you finally understand a truth you have been avoiding for a long time. I turned off the stove, calmly wiped my hands on my apron, and smiled. It was not a smile of joy. It was the smile of someone who has just made the most important decision of their life. All right, Mike. My voice came out steady, steadier than I would have believed. I walked up the stairs. Each step seemed to weigh a ton, but my strides were determined. In my room, the one Jessica had already planned to turn into a walk-in closet, I pulled my suitcase from under the bed. It is funny how I had subconsciously left it there, as if I knew this day would come. I only packed the essentials: clothes, 2 documents, the photo of my Mary, my mother's rosary. I left behind everything that had no place in a life that was starting over. I went downstairs with my suitcase. Mike was standing in the middle of the living room, looking pale. I guess he did not expect me to actually leave. Jessica watched me from the couch with a little smirk on the corner of her lips. I stopped at the door. I looked around one last time. Every corner of this house told my story. The kitchen tiles I had picked out one by one. The living room window I had paid to have enlarged. The garden I had planted stone by stone on the weekends. I looked at Mike, and for the first time in 67 years, I did not feel that painful need to protect my son from everything. I only felt pity for him. I opened the door and walked out without looking back. Without drama. Without tears. Just the sound of my suitcase rolling on the pavement. And you know what happened a week later? 18 missed calls. But that was just the beginning of a story he never imagined. While the cab drove me away from that house, I started remembering everything. It was not nostalgia. It was more like my whole life was flashing before my eyes, showing exactly where it all started. I was 28 years old when I became a widower. Mike was barely 3 years old. He still wore diapers at night. He called his mom Mommy Star because Mary loved looking at the night sky with him. It was a Tuesday. 2. It is strange how the worst days of my life all landed on a Tuesday. Mary had left early to get to the hospital where she worked as a nurse. A dedicated, honest, hard-working woman. She was supposed to be back for lunch like always. But the phone rang before noon. It was the hospital. A traffic accident on her way to work. She never had a chance. By the time I arrived, it was already too late. And I discovered something else. Mary had debts. A lot of them. She had hidden them from me, trying to get ahead on her own. Suddenly, I was not just a widower. I was a widower in debt, with a little boy, no family nearby, and nothing but my own 2 bare hands. Do you know what you do when the floor caves in? You learn to build on thin air. I got a job in construction by day and did carpentry at home by night. I started at 4 in the morning, before Mike even woke up. I built custom furniture, repaired things, built small structures. When Mike went to kindergarten, I took on extra jobs. 3 houses a day, from Monday to Saturday. At night, after putting my son to sleep, I drew blueprints for construction projects. My hands became calloused and rough, but I never stopped. That lasted for 15 years. 15 years waking up in the dark, going to sleep exhausted. 15 years saving every single dollar, keeping them in a cookie tin under the mattress because I did not trust banks. 15 years saying no to everything. Movies, new clothes, a simple ice cream at the park. But Mike never lacked a thing. Clean uniform, all his school supplies, a packed lunch in his backpack. He went to a private school because I did handiwork at the principal's house in exchange for a discount when I saved enough money to buy a plot of land. I cried alone in the kitchen, counting those bills that smelled like sweat and sacrifice. It was the year 2008. That money was worth a lot more back then. I bought a lot on the outskirts of the city. Nobody wanted it. It is too far out. Mr. Robert, they said, that will never go up in value. But I saw potential. I saw a future. Every weekend, Mike and I went out there. He was still a kid, but he helped me carry bricks. With my construction skills, We poured the foundation ourselves. I learned how to pour a concrete slab, how to install plumbing. My hands, already calloused, grew even rougher. My back hurt so much that some nights I could not sleep. But every brick was a victory. Every raised wall was a promise. My son was going to have a home. It took me 4 years to finish it. 4 years sweating under the sun, mixing cement, painting walls. When we finally moved into that house in 2012, Mike was 17 years old. He hugged me at the door and said, "Dad, you are the strongest man I know. I will never forget everything you have done for me." I believed him. I paid for his college tuition for his engineering degree. It was $800 a month back then. I took on more jobs. I accepted night shifts. Mike graduated in 2017. He got an excellent job, started making good money, and I kept living in that house. The house I had built, the house that held my sweat in every corner, my history on every wall, that house that today is worth almost $500,000. Because the area went up in value exactly as I had predicted. And it is from that very house that my son just kicked me out. It is funny how life teaches the hardest lessons. Right, but he was still unaware of something. Something I had kept quiet all these years. This house had a secret. A secret that would soon change everything. Jessica came into our lives on a Saturday in June. I even remember the clothes she was wearing. A floral dress. Heels way too high for a casual barbecue. Perfume so strong you could smell it from a distance. Mike had met her at a company event 3 months earlier. He came home that night with stars in his eyes, talking non-stop. "Dad, I met an incredible woman, smart, beautiful, successful." I smiled. Of course I smiled. My son was happy. What father does not want to see his son in love? When she came for dinner the first time, she brought an expensive wine and an even more expensive smile. She kissed me at the door, calling me Pops with a voice that was far too sweet. "Mike talks about you so much. You must be a wonderful man to have raised such an exceptional son." I wanted to believe her, I swear, but there was something in her eyes, something I could not quite name. It was like when you see a beautiful animal, but you sense it is calculating every move. Studying, planning. During dinner, she praised everything. The food, the house, the decor. But her eyes scanned the rooms like someone taking inventory. I noticed how she touched the brown living room couch, the antique china cabinet, the curtains I had chosen so carefully. What a charming house. Pops. It has a very vintage feel. Vintage. That word bothered me. I do not know why. Maybe because she had not said it with affection. She said it like someone identifying something out of style. Mike did not notice a thing. He was floating, blind in love. 6 months later, he came with the news. "Dad, I am getting married. Jessica is the woman of my life." My chest tightened, but I swallowed hard and hugged my son. "If you are happy, I am happy." The wedding was in March of 2021. Big, luxurious, full of people I did not know. Jessica wanted everything to be perfect. The catering was $100 a plate. Decorations with imported flowers. A live band. Mike came to see me, looking ashamed. "Dad, I know it is a lot of money, but—" I did not let him finish. "How much do you need?" He swallowed hard. $7,000. I managed to get 4,000. But I was missing the rest. I went to the bank the next day. I withdrew $3,000 from my savings. The money I kept for emergencies, for my old age, for rainy days. I gave it to Mike. "I just want to see you happy." That is all that matters. He hugged me, crying, Dad, I will pay you back. I promise. He never did, but it was for his happiness. Right, at the wedding, Jessica looked radiant. French lace dress, pearl veil, flawless makeup. She glowed. Me? In my simple navy blue suit. I sat in the second row and discreetly wiped away tears of emotion. I cried because my boy was growing up, because I had done it. Alone against the world. I had raised a good, educated, college graduate man. Or at least, that is what I thought. The first few months were peaceful. They lived with me. After all, the house had 3 bedrooms. Lots of space. Jessica was polite. She helped with household chores. Gave compliments. I thought. Maybe I judged her wrongly. Maybe she really is a good person. But then, slowly, things began to change. First, it was subtle comments. Pops, don't you think this tablecloth is a little old? We could update it. Right? Or, these plants on the patio make everything feel so cluttered. Then came the suggestions. Mike, baby, we need to modernize this house. Everything is so outdated. Your clients come here sometimes. We need to present a better image. I felt every word like a tiny paper cut. Invisible, but painful. And then, one Sunday morning, I heard it. They were in their room. The door slightly open. Jessica's voice sounded annoyed. Mike, this house looks like a museum for poor people. Old furniture. 80s decor. That awful couch. How could you live like this? I froze in the hallway. I was holding the laundry basket. The clothes still warm. Fresh off the line. Mike laughed. He laughed softly. Almost embarrassed. Oh, baby. My dad just likes these old things. They have sentimental value. Sentimental value does not pay the bills or impress anyone. I felt my chest tighten. But I did not say anything. I kept walking to my room. I closed the door and sat on the bed. I looked around. Every object here had a history. But to her, it was just old trash. That was when I understood that Jessica had not come into our lives out of love. She had come out of ambition. And this was only the beginning. The transformation of the house started 2 months after that conversation. But it was not brutal. It was like a slow poison that kills you little by little without you noticing. First, it was the couch. That brown couch I had bought in 2013. Paying it off over 12 months interest-free. I remembered the day it arrived. Mike had helped me unbox it. We set it up together in the living room. It is awesome. Dad, it matches perfectly. One regular Saturday. I came back from the market and it was simply gone. In its place was a white, minimalist, modern, uncomfortable couch. It looked like a waiting room couch, not something for a home. Where is the couch? My voice came out shaky. Jessica was on her phone, her red nail sliding across the screen. She did not even look up. We donated it. Bopes, it was too old. This one is better. Cleaner. The house needs to breathe. Breathe. As if the house was suffocating. As if I was suffocating the house. Mike walked in carrying grocery bags. Do you like it? Dad, Jessica picked it out. It is modern. No. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say that the couch had a history. That I sat there every night to watch my shows. That it was the place where Mike would rest his head on my lap when he had a headache. But I just nodded. It looks nice. It was a lie. It was cold. The next week, it was my carpentry shop. I had turned the smallest room in the house into a little workshop. My tools. organized shelves with wood, half-finished projects. It was my sanctuary, the place where I still felt productive, useful. I came back from a doctor's appointment, and the door was locked. I found that strange. I knocked. Jessica opened it with a smile. "Oh, Pops, I forgot to tell you. We are turning this room into a walk-in closet. I already hired the carpenter. The work starts next week." My heart raced. But my things, I already packed everything into the storage unit at Mike's office building. Everything is there. Do not worry. Storage. My memories. My work. My identity. In a storage unit. Jessica. That was my space. She sighed like someone losing patience with a stubborn child. "Robert, you do not even work with wood that much anymore. And we need that room. There is not enough space for our clothes." Our clothes? In my house. I went to complain to Mike at the end of the day. He was tired, staring at his laptop. His forehead wrinkled. "Dad, it is just a room. You can work in the garage if you want." Mike. That was my space. My only little corner. He closed his computer with a heavy sigh. "Dad, please. Jessica is just trying to make the house more organized. Do not turn this into a war. It is just a room. I never worked with wood again." Next. It was the plants. My garden. I had cultivated each one with the patience of the years. The rose bushes I planted when Mike was 10. The lilies that came from cuttings from my neighbor. Mr. Ernest. The mint that grew strong in the front yard. I came back from the farmer's market, and all of them had been ripped out. In their place were decorative white rocks and geometric potted succulents. It is much cleaner now. Bops. Less weeds? More design. Weeds. She called my plants weeds, but the worst was yet to come. Mary's guitar disappeared. It had been kept in the living room closet in its original case. It was the only thing I had left of her. I did not play. But sometimes I would open the case just to smell the old wood. Touch the strings. Remember her singing on family Sundays. Jessica. Where is the guitar? Oh, I donated that to a community project. It was just sitting there unused. Someone else will get better use out of it. I felt my legs give out. You had no right. Robert. It was old junk taking up space. The house feels so much lighter now. Lighter. As if weight was a bad thing. As if memory was a burden. The old photos on the wall were also taken down. Everything is on a flash drive. Pops. It is more practical. Practical. Invisible. Erased. I was being erased from my own house. Slowly. Systematically. And my son saw nothing. Or worse. He saw it, but chose to ignore it. At night, lying in my bed, I would stare at the ceiling, and I no longer recognized anything around me. Everything was different. White. Cold. Impersonal. I was a stranger in the house I had built with my own hands. And the worst part is that this was just the beginning. Because soon, very soon, Jessica was going to demand more than just my objects. She was going to want my dignity. The shift was so gradual that I barely noticed when I went from being the owner of the house to becoming the employee. It started with small, almost innocent requests. Pops, since you are going to wash your dishes, wash these mugs too. I am running late for the salon. Robert, fix this shelf for me. You already have the tools out anyway. Can you mow the lawn? I am in the middle of an online meeting. I did it. Of course I did it. I was always one to help, to be available. But the requests grew. They multiplied. They turned into demands. One day I came downstairs for coffee and found a piece of paper on the fridge. A list written in Jessica's careful handwriting, pinned with a decorative magnet. Robert's chores. 7 a.m. Coffee ready. 10 a.m. Garden maintained. 12 p.m. Bathroom cleaned. 2 p.m. Lunch on the table. 6 p.m. House repairs. 8 p.m. Dinner ready. 10 p.m. Kitchen cleaned up. I stood there staring at that paper. I read it and reread it as if the words were going to change meaning. But they did not change. Mike walked in yawning, grabbed a coffee, and saw my expression. What is wrong? Dad, I pointed at the list. My voice came out muted. This? He shrugged. Oh, Jessica is just trying to better organize the household routine. It is fine. Right, everything is more structured. Mike, this is a chore list. As if I were... What, Dad? He looked at me impatiently. You live here. Right, everyone helps with chores. It is only fair. That word echoed in my head all day. Fair. And as I always did, I swallowed my pride and obeyed. Because I did not want conflicts. Because I was afraid of losing my son. Because deep down a part of me still believed this was temporary. But it was not. Weeks passed, and the list grew longer. Wash the car. Water the new plants. Clean the windows. Fix the little things. I, who had built that house brick by brick, was now cleaning the bathroom on a fixed schedule. The worst of it came on a Saturday night. Jessica decided to host a dinner with her friends. 5 women covered in expensive perfumes, manicured nails, loud laughs. Sitting in the living room, on the white couch I hated, and Jessica called out to me, Robert, bring the girls some wine. I grabbed the bottle from the fridge and poured for each of them. They did not even look at me. They were talking about trips to Miami. Spas. Botox. Robert, we are out of snacks. Make some more. Please. I went back to the kitchen. I made more toast with pâté. When I brought them out, one of the friends said out loud, Jessica, you are so lucky to have a butler like this. Always available. Butler. She called me a butler. Jessica laughed. Yes. It saves me a lot of work. I felt my face burn. But I did not say anything. I went back to the kitchen. I rested my hands on the sink. I took a deep breath. When they left, it was almost midnight. The living room was a disaster. Empty glasses, crumpled napkins, crumbs everywhere. I went to sleep. I woke up early on Sunday. The sink was full of dirty plates. There was a note on the counter. I thought she liked keeping everything clean. Kisses. Wash everything. Every glass. Every plate. My hands trembling with suppressed rage. Mike appeared mid-morning. Dad, where is my food? I am hungry. I looked at my son, the one I had raised, fed, carried. Now he was demanding food from me the way you demand it from a waiter. It is almost ready. It will not take long. I hope so. I am going out with Jessica at 2. Do not take too long. Not even a please. Not even a thank you. That night, I fixed my plate and went to eat in the kitchen. I sat on the little stool near the stove. Alone. I listened to their laughter in the living room while they watched a movie. I was no longer welcome at the table. I was no longer part of the family. I was just the man who cooked, cleaned, and disappeared. I went to sleep early. I locked my bedroom door. I sat on the edge of the bed. And for the first time in 40 years, I let the tears fall. I cried in silence because if I had made noise, they probably would have asked me to stop, as if even my pain bothered them. And while I cried, a question hammered in my head. How did I let things get this far? But I already knew the answer. I let it happen because I loved him, because I was afraid of losing him, because I believed a father's love meant accepting everything, except that there are things no love should ever accept. And I was close, very close, to discovering my limit. It was a Wednesday afternoon when my life changed forever. Or rather, when I finally understood what was really happening. I had gone to the grocery store to buy things for dinner. Jessica had asked for fresh salmon. It must be flawless. Robert, this is important for Mike's career. His boss is coming over. I came back earlier than expected. The store was empty. Short lines. I entered the house and heard voices in their bedroom. The door was slightly open. Not completely shut. I was going to walk past, but a sentence froze me in the hallway. Mike, your dad needs to get out of this house. Fast. Jessica's voice sounded irritated. Impatient. I can no longer stand seeing him walk around here like he owns the place. My heart started beating faster. I stood paralyzed, holding the grocery bags. Jessica, I know it is hard, but he has nowhere to go. My son's voice sounded tired, resigned. That is his problem. Mike, we are killing ourselves working, paying the bills, and he is just here freeloading. Do you not see it? He is living off of us. I felt the floor vanish, off of them, in my house, with the money I had saved, the sweat I had poured out. And there is something else. Jessica's voice dropped, becoming calculating. I looked into it. This house is only in his name. You, his son, who has lived here your whole life, have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Silence. A heavy silence. And then Mike asked, without conviction. And then, what if he dies tomorrow? Or decides to donate it to some church of fanatics? You will have nothing. We will have nothing. I went cold. You have to get a power of attorney. Convince him to sign it. Then we transfer the property to your name, and that is it. Then we can do whatever we want. Sell it. Rent it. Real remodel. Jessica. That is heavy. What is heavy is us living at his mercy. Look at the size of this house. Mike, it is worth almost $500,000. And it is just sitting there wasted with poor people's decor. We could be rich. Another silence. And after we get the transfer, Mike's voice came out weak. He was considering it. My son was actually considering it. Well, we find him a little spot. A cheap little apartment. Let him figure it out. He gets a pension. Right. No. He does not. Well, if he does not, that is his problem. He should have thought of that before becoming such a burden. My legs started to tremble. I leaned against the wall to keep from falling. The bags slipped from my fingers, but I managed to catch them before they made a noise. I don't know. Jessica. Mike hesitated, but he hesitated. He did not say no. He did not say never. He just hesitated. Think about it. Baby, with that money, we can buy a modern condo downtown. We triple our standard of living. And he has already lived his life. He had his turn. Now it is our turn. I did not wait to hear any more. I walked down the stairs slowly, as if floating. I put the bags in the kitchen. Trembling hands, racing heart. I went up to my room and closed the door and sat on the bed. I took a deep breath. Once, twice, 3 times. And then something strange happened. The sadness I expected to feel never came. The pain never arrived. What arrived was clarity. Cold, crystalline, definitive. I had been naive, foolish. I had believed that family love was unconditional. That blood meant loyalty. I had erased myself, diminished myself, accepting humiliation after humiliation because I did not want to cause problems. And now I was discovering that it was not just a lack of respect. It was a scheme, a scam. They wanted to take everything from me and throw me away like trash. I picked up my phone and searched my contacts for a name I had not seen in months. Ray Smith, my friend since high school, a retired lawyer, one of the few people I truly trusted. I sent a message. Ray, I need your help urgently. Can you see me tomorrow? The answer arrived in seconds. Of course. Old friend. In my office. Is everything okay? Now it was going to be fine. That night, I prepared dinner like always. Grilled salmon, saffron rice, steamed vegetables. I set the table, served Mike's boss. I smiled. I was polite. Jessica looked at me with superiority. Mike avoided my gaze. But I was calm. For the first time in months, I was absolutely calm. Because now, I had a plan too. And unlike theirs, my plan had something theirs did not. Justice. The next morning, I woke up at 6 like always. But this time, it was different. I had slept deeply for the first time in weeks. Clear mind. Decision made. I went to Ray's office right at 10. He greeted me with a strong coffee and that look of someone who has seen a lot in life. I told him everything. Every detail. Every humiliation. The conversation I had overheard. Ray stayed silent for a few seconds, then let out a deep sigh. Robert, I am going to be direct. They have no legal right over your house. None. But you must protect yourself right now. He opened a folder. We are going to do 3 things today. First, an ironclad will. Second, a declaration of exclusive ownership registered before a notary. Third, you are going to make copies of all the proof that you built and maintained that house by yourself. And if they try to force me to sign anything, any document signed under duress is void. He squeezed my hand. But Robert, are you ready for the consequences? Because when you protect yourself, they are going to react. I know. My voice came out steady, and I am ready. We spent 3 hours in that office. I signed papers, got everything registered. When I left, I carried documents in my bag that protected my assets. And more than that, Ray had offered me his guest room. Whenever you need it, just come. I went back to the house in the late afternoon. The decision was made. But I was not just going to leave. I was going to wait for the right moment. The moment they fully showed their true colors. That moment arrived 3 days later. It was Sunday. I was preparing lunch. Spaghetti bolognese. Mike's favorite dish since he was a kid. The kitchen smelled of garlic and basil. I was stirring the sauce when Jessica walked in. She tasted the filling I had prepared and made that disgusted expression I knew so well. Robert, this is awful. Flavorless. It tastes like dog food. She slammed the spoon into the sink. You just cannot do anything right anymore. I turned off the stove. I took a deep breath. Jessica, this filling is seasoned exactly as always. If you do not like it, do not eat it. Her eyes widened. She was not used to me talking back. Excuse me, are you talking back to me now? I am saying that if you do not like my cooking, you are free to cook your own. That was when Mike walked in. Messy hair, sleepy face. Jessica ran to him like a little girl going to complain. Baby, see, your dad is disrespecting me. I only made a comment, and he answered me with insolence. Mike looked at me. Tired, irritated, fed up. And then came the phrase, I knew was coming. The phrase I was waiting for. Dad, enough. I cannot take it anymore. I cannot stand this tension. This heavy environment you cause by making a problem out of everything. He rubbed his face. I am going to be very clear right now. Either you drop this stubbornness, accept that things have changed around here, follow Jessica's rules, and stop causing trouble, or you pack your things and find somewhere else to live. Because I am done. Decide right now. The world went silent. I looked at my son. I searched his eyes for a trace of the little boy I had carried at night. The teenager who cried on my shoulder when a girl rejected him. The young man who had sworn he would never abandon me. I found nothing. I only saw a man I did not know. A stranger wearing my son's face. And in that moment, something broke free inside me. I smiled. A small, peaceful smile. All right. Mike, he blinked, confused. Jessica, too. I think they were expecting begging. Desperation. I wiped my hands on the towel, calmly took off my apron, and hung it on the hook. I will go get my things. I walked up the stairs. Every step was a liberation. I pulled my suitcase from under the bed. The exact one I had prepared days before, knowing this moment would come. Clothes, documents, Mary's photo, my mother's rosary. What mattered most fit in one suitcase. I went downstairs. Mike was in the middle of the living room. Bale. I think he finally realized what he had done. Jessica. On the couch. Tried to hide a smirk. I stopped at the door, looking around one last time. Every brick, every wall, every corner held my history, my sweat, my life. But it no longer held my future. I looked at Mike. Take good care of the house. You are going to need it. He frowned, not understanding. I opened the door and walked out. The afternoon sun hit my face. The street was quiet. I walked to the corner carrying my suitcase. I did not look back a single time. I called Ray. I am on my way over. I will be waiting with fresh coffee. And, as the cab took me away, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Peace. Because sometimes, losing everything is the only way to get your dignity back. The first 2 days, there was absolute silence. No calls. To no message. Nothing. I was at Ray's house, in a simple but comfortable room, smelling of tobacco with natural light pouring through the window. He did not ask invasive questions. He just squeezed my shoulder and said, "Stay as long as you need." The second night, having a drink on the patio, Ray commented, "You know what is going to happen now." Right. What? When the dust settles, they are going to realize. Realize what? Everything you did, everything you were, everything you held together without them noticing. He was right. On the third day, my phone rang for the first time. It was Mike. I let it go to voicemail. He did not leave a message. But I knew what was happening over there. Because I knew that house. I knew every detail, every need, every expense. And he was discovering it the hard way. Ray had a friend who lived on the same street as the house. Mr. Ernest. Curious, like every neighborhood guy. Called me on the fourth day. Robert. Buddy, what a mess is going down at your house. Jessica came over here to ask me to show her how to use the water heater system. The water heater. Robert, the girl does not even know that. I almost laughed. Almost. And another thing. I saw Mike go out early to buy bread. He came back with stale rolls. Because he does not know how to pick them. The house is a dump. Buddy? Just yesterday I saw trash piling up on the sidewalk because they forgot collection day. Every piece of information was a confirmation. He was drowning. On the 5th day, the calls increased. 3, 5, 7 missed calls. On the 6th day, I received a message from Mike. Dad, I need to talk to you. Please. I did not reply. Then came the first bill. Mr. Ernest told me about it. Robert. Can you believe the electric bill came out to over $150? I heard Jessica screaming at Mike in the garage. She thought the bill would be $30 tops. I had always paid that bill every month. Right on time. He did not even know I paid for it. Then came the water. $50. Internet. $240. The HOA fees he never knew existed. Because the house was in a gated community. Another $75. Gas. $30. Just in basic utilities. Over $350 that I used to pay by myself every month without complaining. On the 7th day, Mr. Ernest called me laughing. Buddy, they will not even take Jessica's credit card at the grocery store anymore. She tried to buy on credit and got declined. I saw her walk back with 2 miserable bags. Cheap meat? Generic stuff. And you know the worst part? Buddy, what? She does not know how to cook. She burned the rice. Robert, the whole house smelled like smoke. Mike got home from work and there was no dinner ready. They ate instant noodles. Instant noodles. The working engineer was eating instant soup because his wife could not even make rice. On the 8th day, the calls turned to desperation. 15 missed calls in a single day. The messages started pouring in. Dad, please answer. We have to talk. Do not do this. Dad. But it was the 9th day when everything completely collapsed. A letter arrived. Certified mail. The firm. Official handwriting of a lawyer. Ray had sent an extrajudicial notice, demanding that Mike and Jessica vacate the property within 30 days. After all, they had no legal right to be there. They never did. Mr. Ernest called me almost immediately. Robert, it is a war zone. Mike got home from work, opened the letter, and turned pale, ghost white. Buddy, and Jessica started screaming. He cannot do this. We live here. It is inhumane. And Mike just kept repeating, oh my God. What did I do? What did I do? He took a dramatic pause. And there is more. Another letter from the notary arrived. Is it true? Buddy, did you make a will, leaving the house to a charity? Yes. It was true. Every dollar, every brick, every square foot of that house I had built with my own 2 hands would go to an association that took in elderly people abandoned by their families. Ironic. Right. Jessica is losing her mind. She is talking about suing, about contesting it. But Mike is destroyed. Robert, I saw him crying in the garage last night. Crying like a little boy. I hung up the phone and stared at the garden at Ray's house. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Ray sat next to me. How do you feel? I thought a lot before answering. Empty, but relieved. He is going to come looking for you. You know that. Right, I know. And what are you going to do? I took a deep breath. I am going to listen to him. But I am not backing down. Because there are things that have no point of return, words that cannot be unsaid, decisions that have consequences. And for the first time in my life, I am not going to be the only one bearing them. It is their turn to learn. On the 10th day, desperation literally knocked on the door. I was helping Ray organize books when the doorbell rang. He went to answer and came back with a serious expression. It is Mike. He wants to talk to you. My heart raced. But my voice came out steady. Tell him to leave. Robert. He is crying at the door. Something inside me trembled. But I did not yield. I do not want to talk to him. Not now. Ray went back out. I heard muffled voices. When he returned, he was holding a crumpled envelope. He left a letter. He said he will wait as long as it takes. I looked at the envelope. My fingers trembled. But I did not open it. Not then. I put it on my nightstand and tried to go on with my day. But at night, alone in my room, I opened it. My son's shaky. Rushed handwriting filled 3 pages. Stains that looked like tears blurred some of the words. Dad, I ruined everything. I know. I have no excuses. I was blind. Selfish. Ungrateful. I let Jessica take over everything. Control me. I did not see how much you did. How much you held together on your own. I kicked you out of your own house. The house you built. I do not deserve your forgiveness or your presence. But you must know. I am drowning without you. And it is not because of the house. It is because of you. Because of my dad. Please, give me a chance to fix this. I folded the letter slowly, put it back in the envelope, and I did not cry, because some wounds are too deep for tears. On day 12, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me press the green button. Hello, Mr. Robert, said a formal male voice. I am Anthony Martin, the lawyer representing Mike and Jessica. I would like to arrange a meeting to discuss an amicable agreement regarding the property. I hung up and blocked the number. Jessica had gone far. She had hired a lawyer. But she did not understand one thing. I had the law on my side. And more importantly, I had the truth. Ray confirmed it the next day. They have no grounds. Robert, the property has been in your name all along. You built it. You paid for it. You maintained it. They are occupants with no legal right. The notice is valid. If they do not leave in 30 days, we proceed with the eviction, and the will is registered, recognized, and irrevocable. Even if you died tomorrow, that house goes to the charity. There is no going back. They have no grounds. Robert, the property has been in your name all along. You built it. You paid for it. You maintained it. They are occupants, with no legal rights. The notice is valid. If they do not leave in 30 days, we proceed with the eviction, and the will is registered, recognized, and irrevocable. Even if you died tomorrow, that house goes to the charity. There is no going back. That night, Mr. Ernest called me with more news. Robert, the mess over there is crazy. Jessica is trying to sell things from the house. She put up ads for the TV, the fridge, even the washing machine. But an officer showed up and sealed everything. He told her she cannot sell property that is not hers. You should have seen her face. I could not help but smile bitterly. And Mike O. Buddy Mike is destroyed. He is missing work. I heard the next-door neighbors say they saw him come back mid-afternoon, looking like he got fired or reprimanded. Jessica blames him for everything. Last night I heard screaming until 2 in the morning. On the 15th day, the phone rang 18 times. 18 calls from Mike in a single day. Each one more desperate than the last. The messages also kept coming non-stop. Dad, for the love of God. Dad, just listen to me once. I deserve all of this. But please, give me a chance. And then, Dad, I love you. I never should have let things get this far. Jessica left. She went back to her parents. I am all alone here. Do you understand alone? Just like you were. That last message hit me in the chest because it was true. I had been alone, completely alone, abandoned by the son I had raised, humiliated in my own house. And now it was his turn to feel it. On the 18th day, Ray came to talk to me seriously. Robert, you have to decide. Either you talk to him, or I continue with the eviction process. The 30 days are almost up. He has to vacate the property, and if I talk to him, that depends on you. But listen to me, Robert. You can forgive. You can even rebuild the relationship. But never, ever backtrack on your decisions to protect your assets. Do you understand that is not negotiable? I stayed silent for a long time. Finally, I picked up my phone. I wrote a short message. Tomorrow, 3 in the afternoon. Central Square coffee shop. Alone. The reply arrived in seconds. I will be there. Thank you. Dad? Thank you. Ray looked at me with concern. Are you sure? No. But I have to do it. I have to look him in the eyes and say everything that needs to be said. And if he asks you to come back, I looked out the window. The sky was clear, without a cloud. Then he will discover that some doors, once closed, never open the same way again. Because forgiveness does not mean forgetting. And rebuilding does not mean going back to how things were. It means starting from scratch. Whether he is ready for that, only time will tell. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes before the agreed time. I chose a table in the back, near the window. I ordered a strong black coffee. My hands trembled slightly holding the cup. Ray had insisted on accompanying me, but I refused. This was something I had to do alone, at exactly 3 o'clock. Mike walked in, and I almost did not recognize him. My son was unrecognizable. Deep, dark circles, an unshaven beard, wrinkled clothes. He had lost a lot of weight. The shirt that used to fit him tight now hung from his shoulders. He saw me and stopped, as if gathering the courage to take another step. He walked slowly toward the table. He sat across from me without saying anything at first. He just looked at me, and then his eyes filled with tears. Dad! His voice came out broken. I did not answer immediately. I just watched him. This destroyed man in front of me was the same one who, 3 weeks earlier, had given me an ultimatum in my own kitchen. You asked to talk, so talk. My voice came out colder than I intended. He swallowed hard and wiped his tears with the back of his hand. I do not even know where to begin. Sorry is not enough. Sorry does not pay for what I did, for what I let happen. No, it really does not pay for it. Dad, I was blind, a complete idiot. Jessica manipulated me. She convinced me that you were the problem, that you were getting in the way of our lives. And I believed her. I believed her because it was convenient. Because it was easier to blame you than to see who she really was. And who was she? Mike. He closed his eyes. A scammer. A gold digger. She never loved me. She loved the idea of what I could give her. Status. Comfort. Money. And mostly that house. The house you built all by yourself while I was a kid. The house that is worth a fortune today. She wanted it all. And I was going to let her take it. I felt a tightness in my chest. But I kept my expression neutral. And what changed? Everything changed when you left. He looked down at his own hands. The first day. I thought it would be a relief. No conflicts. Not tension. Jessica celebrated. She said we were finally free. He paused, his voice choking up. But the second day, I woke up, and there was no coffee ready. It sounds silly, Right. But you always made coffee. Always. For as long as I can remember. And suddenly, there was none. Then I realized the fridge was empty. You always did the grocery shopping. I did not even know which store you went to. Then, the bills started arriving. Dad. I had no idea. I had no idea how much it costs to run that house. Electricity, water, internet, gas. The community fees I did not even know existed. You paid for everything. Everything. And I never asked you if you needed help. Tears were falling freely down his face. Now the house is a disaster. Jessica did not even know how to use the water heater. She burned the food. She let the dishes pile up. We argued every single day. And then that letter arrived. He looked at me with desperation. The eviction notice. And right then, I truly realized it. This house was not my house. It never was. It was always yours. Only yours. And I had kicked you out. I had thrown you out of the house you built with your own 2 hands. And the will? My voice was firm, but my heart was beating fast. The will destroyed me. He sobbed. You preferred to leave everything to strangers rather than to me. And you were right. 1,000 times right. I did not deserve a thing. Nothing. Mike covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. Jessica went crazy. She tried to convince me to sue you, to contest the will, to claim you were senile. When I refused, when I told her that you were absolutely right, she called me weak, an idiot. She said I had thrown away the biggest opportunity of our lives. And she left. She just packed her bags and left. And I stayed alone in that huge, empty house, full of your memories. And I understood. I understood everything. Every corner of that house screamed your name, to your sacrifice, your history. And I had thrown you away as if you were worth nothing. He reached his hand across the table. But he did not touch me. Dad, I lost everything. I lost my wife. I lost my home. I am about to lose my job. But none of that matters. Nothing. Because I lost you. And that is the only thing that truly hurts. I stayed silent. I let those words resonate between us. I do not want your house. Dad, I do not want your money. I just want my dad. I want to be able to have coffee with you on Sundays. I want to be able to call you when I am having a bad day. I want to fix this, even if it takes me years. Even if you never fully forgive me. Just give me a chance to try. I looked at my son, my only son, the little boy I had carried in my arms, the one I had protected from everything, the one I had loved more than my own life. And then I told the truth. Mike, I am not going to lie and say everything is fine, because it is not. My voice came out steady, but without anger. You did not lose me by accident. You pushed me away. You humiliated me. You turned me into a domestic servant in the house I built. And worse. You listened to your wife plan to rob me, to take everything away from me. And you hesitated. You did not say no in that moment. You hesitated. He lowered his head, ashamed. But I took a deep breath. You are my son, and I do not stop being a father, even if you stopped being a son. So, I am going to tell you what is going to happen now. Mike looked at me with a thread of hope in his eyes. The house stays in my name. The will remains valid. You are going to vacate that house within the next 15 days. This is not negotiable. He swallowed the blow. But if you want, we can rebuild our relationship from scratch. No house. No money. No hidden agendas. Just father and son. If you truly want that, I agree to give you that chance. One single chance. I want it. Dad, I swear. Then prove it. With time. With actions. With respect. And maybe, just maybe, we can recover something of what was destroyed. He stood up, came over to me, and knelt beside my chair. He hugged me like he had not done in years. And he cried. He cried like a lost child. And I, for the first time in weeks, let a few tears fall too. But I did not back down, not a single inch. 6 months passed since that day at the coffee shop. And a lot of things changed. I changed. I rented a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. 2 bedrooms. A balcony with afternoon sun. Rent was $800, which fit perfectly into my budget. Simple, but mine. Completely mine. I went back to working with wood. Not out of necessity, but for pleasure. I opened a small artisan carpentry workshop, making custom pieces, shelves, small, personalized furniture. The money was not much, but the satisfaction was immense. 3 times a week, I volunteered at the charity that was going to receive the house. It was called the Home for Abandoned Seniors. The name was ironic, but real. There, I heard stories similar to mine. Rejected parents, forgotten grandparents, entire lives erased by ungrateful families. But I also witnessed new beginnings. Strong men who stood back up, who reclaimed their dignity, who learned that age is not synonymous with being disposable. I made friends, real friends. We went out to eat, to the movies, fishing on a weekend. At 67 years old, I was experiencing things I had never lived before. I was happy, not a loud happiness, but the quiet happiness of someone who has finally found themselves. Mike changed. He vacated the house within the time frame I gave him. He rented a small apartment, much smaller than what he was used to. He paid around $1,200 in rent, and his budget was tight at the end of the month. The savings he had put together had all been eaten up by the remodeling Jessica did. Expensive furniture, useless decorations, waste after waste. He was starting from scratch financially, but he was trying. He was truly trying. Every Saturday, he visited me. He would bring sweet pastries from the bakery, and we would drink coffee together on my balcony. We talked about work, about life, about the mistakes he had made. He started therapy. He acknowledged that he had been manipulated, but also that he had chosen to be blind. Dad, I saw you suffer. I saw it. But I pretended not to see it because it was easier to keep the peace with Jessica than to defend you. It shames me every single day. Our relationship rebuilt slowly, brick by brick, just like I had built that house years ago. But now, with one difference, it had a solid foundation, respect, boundaries. Jessica reaped what she sowed. She moved back in with her parents. The family she always bragged about being so wealthy was actually drowning in debt. Appearances maintained with credit cards and loans. The facade of a marriage she had built crumbled. Mike filed for divorce 2 months after the separation. She tried to ask for alimony, but the judge denied it. A short marriage, no children, both capable of working. She tried getting close to other men with money, but her reputation had already spread. The woman who kicked her father-in-law out of his own house. Nobody wanted to get involved. Mr. Ernest told me, with that love for gossip that only a neighbor has, about Jessica. She was working at a boutique in the mall, minimum wage, a tiny commission. Her high heels now hurt her at the end of her shift. The house she had coveted so much was being prepared to become the charity's new home. Renovations had begun to transform the bedrooms into cozy shared living spaces, where there had once been ambition and conflict. There would now be care and new beginnings. And the end of this story was not the fairy tale ending people expect. There was no dramatic reconciliation with hugs and eternal promises. There was something better. There was truth. Mike and I rebuilt a relationship based on mutual respect. He never moved back in with me. I never went back to being the father who erases himself for his son. We are two adults who love each other, but with healthy boundaries. He calls me during the week just to see how I am doing. 6 months passed before I could say I love you again. But when I said it, it was real. One Sunday afternoon, while we were drinking coffee on my balcony, Mike looked at me and said, "Dad, thank you." For what? For not forgiving me easily, for teaching me the hardest lesson of my life. I needed to lose everything to understand the value of what I had. I squeezed his hand. You did not lose everything. Mike, you lost me for a moment. But you found something more important. You found self-respect. You learned not to let yourself be manipulated. You learned that love is not convenience. He smiled a sad but sincere smile. And I understood. Justice was not in revenge. It was in transformation. Autumn arrived, bringing golden leaves and a cool breeze that announced changes. I was on the balcony of my apartment, working on a small wooden table. When the phone rang, it was Peter, the coordinator of the charity. "Mr. Robert, you have to come over today. I have a surprise." I arrived in the late afternoon. The house, my old house, it was unrecognizable in a good way. The walls had been painted in soft colors, light yellow in the living room, seafoam green in the bedrooms. Where my bedroom used to be, there was now a community library with comfortable armchairs. The enlarged kitchen had a massive table where everyone would eat together. In the garden where Jessica had ripped out my plants, a vegetable patch was now growing. Tomatoes, lettuce, cilantro, all cared for by the very hands of the seniors living there. "Mr. Robert, could we come meet the residents?" There were 7 people. The youngest was 62 years old. The oldest, 81, each with their own story of abandonment, of ingratitude, of a family that had turned its back on them. Mr. Bernard, 76 years old, hugged me with tears in his eyes. "You saved my life. Literally, I was going to live on the streets when this place took me in." I felt a lump in my throat. This house saved my life too. Now it is saving others. Peter led me to the entrance. A bronze plaque was being installed. Robert House, rebuilding dignity since 2025. You are an inspiration. Mr. Robert, you transformed pain into purpose. I went back to my apartment with a full heart. That night, Mike came over for dinner. I had made chicken and rice. My mother's recipe. Simple, tasty, made with love. While we were eating, he commented, "I drove past the house yesterday. I saw the residents on the patio, laughing, talking. I just stood there watching them for a while." "And what did you feel?" He stayed silent. Thoughtful. At first, I felt a knot in my stomach. It was my childhood home. You know, where I grew up. But then I felt pride. Proud of you. Proud of what you did. Transforming that house, which was the stage for so much pain, into a place of new beginnings. I squeezed his hand across the table. "Do you know what I learned in all these months? What that we teach people how to treat us? Without meaning to, I taught you that it was acceptable to disrespect me. Because I accepted it. Because I was afraid of losing you. But when I lost you anyway, I understood that fear does not protect anyone. It only imprisons. Mike squeezed my hand back, and I learned that privilege makes you blind. I had so many things guaranteed. Your presence, your care, that house. I thought they were my rights. They were not rights. They were gifts. And I threw it all away. But we are here now, different. But here, that night, after Mike left, I sat on the balcony with a tequila. The sky was starry and clear. The city slept peacefully. I thought about everything I had been through. A widower at 28. The late nights working. The bricks laid with my own hands. The humiliation I had swallowed in silence. The moment I decided, enough is enough. And I understood something fundamental. Dignity is not up for negotiation. Love cannot come accompanied by disrespect. And sometimes, the greatest proof of love we can give is teaching boundaries. 3 weeks later, I received an unexpected invitation. The charity was organizing an official grand opening event, and they wanted me to speak. The hall was packed. Volunteers, donors, locale press, and the 7 residents sitting in the front row. When it was my turn to speak, I walked up to the microphone with my heart pounding. I was never one to give speeches, but I looked at those people, each a survivor of their own battle, and the words came naturally. I did not come here to tell a story of revenge. I came to tell a story of rescue, of my own rescue. I paused. I took a deep breath. For years, I believed that being a good father meant erasing myself, accepting everything, forgiving everything, never setting boundaries because that would be selfish. But I learned in the worst possible way that that is not love. It is self-destruction. Some people in the audience nodded, their eyes watering. When my son gave me that ultimatum, when he kicked me out of the house I built, something inside me died. But something was also born. Self-respect. And that self-respect brought me here. It transformed the pain into purpose. I looked at the residents. Today, this house is no longer the symbol of my humiliation. It is the symbol of my liberation. And I hope with all my heart that it becomes the symbol of liberation for each and every one of you. 2. The audience applauded. I saw Mike at the back of the room, crying silently. After the event, he came up to me. He did not say anything. He just hugged me, long and hard. And I understood. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is remembering without letting the pain paralyze you. It is allowing the person who caused the damage to become a new person. It is giving a chance without giving up your dignity. Today, a year after all this, my life is completely different. I sell my wooden pieces in a collaborative local shop. I travel with my friends. I take senior yoga classes. I laugh more. I live more. Mike rebuilt his life. He met Sarah, an elementary school teacher, down to earth, from a humble family, who treats him with sincere respect. She invited me out for coffee before getting serious with him. Mr. Robert, I have to meet the man who raised this son. I liked her immediately, and she liked me. Sometimes on Sundays, we have lunch together. Me, Mike, and Sarah. We talk, we laugh. We even remember the bad times because they taught us lessons. I heard through the grapevine about Jessica. She is engaged to a businessman from another city. I sincerely hope she learned something, but she is no longer my problem. But there is something else I want to share. Something that happened just 2 months ago, which proves that life's lessons never stop surprising us. It was a Saturday morning. I was in my workshop sanding a table when the phone rang. An unknown number. Hello, Mr. Robert, a professional female voice asked. Yes. Speaking. I am calling from the Public Property Registry. We have a document that requires your signature in person. Could you come in on Monday at 10? My heart skipped a beat. What is this about? It is regarding the property registered in your name in the valley. We need to update some data. I hung up with trembling hands. I immediately called Ray. Relax. Robert, I will go with you on Monday. But it sounds like a routine procedure. On Monday, we arrived early. The clerk greeted us with a friendly smile and a thick folder. Mr. Robert, your case is unique. The Robert House Charity wants to formalize the donation before the testamentary term to begin the zoning change procedures. We need you to sign these documents before a notary. Ray reviewed everything meticulously. It is all in order. Robert, it is the standard process. I signed. Every signature was a closure. A chapter coming to an end. When we walked out, the sun was beating down hard. Ray patted my shoulder. How do you feel, Free? And it was true. That same afternoon, Mike called me. Dad, can we meet? I need to tell you something. We met at the same coffee shop where, months prior, we had that painful conversation. But now, his face was different. It was calm. Dad, Sarah and I are getting married. I felt a wave of emotion. Mike, that is wonderful. And we want to ask you something. He swallowed hard. We want you to be our best man. I know I do not deserve to ask you this after everything. But Sarah insists. She says there is no wedding without your blessing. The tears arrived without me being able to stop them. It would be an honor. He stood up and hugged me. Thank you. Dad, thank you for not turning your back on me when I deserved it the most. Parents do not turn their backs. Mike, they set boundaries. It is different. The wedding was 3 weeks ago. Small. Intimate. In a garden overlooking the mountains. Sarah looked radiant in a simple lace dress. Mike could not stop smiling. When they asked me to say a few words during the ceremony, I stood in front of all the guests, looked at my son and his new wife, and said, "True love is not about enduring everything. It is about respecting everything. It is not about erasing yourself. It is about growing stronger through healthy boundaries." Mike learned this the hardest way possible, but he learned it. And Sarah, you have a man who now knows the value of dignity, of respect, of hard work. I looked directly at Mike. Son, build your marriage just like I built that house. With your own 2 hands, with effort, with patience, but above all, with mutual respect. Because without respect, no matter how beautiful the house is, it will never be a home. There were tears, so many tears. Later, during the reception, Mr. Ernest walked up to me with a beer in his hand. Buddy, look at this. Who would have thought that after all that hell, you would be here dancing at your son's wedding? Life takes crazy turns. Buddy? Hey, do you know what happened to Jessica? What, her engagement was called off. The guy found out she was in debt up to her neck. Credit cards all maxed out. Now I hear she is working as a receptionist at a hotel. Night shift. I did not feel joy. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt nothing. Jessica was no longer a part of my story. I wish her well, was all I said. That was all. Last week, I went to visit the Robert House. The residents welcomed me like family. Mr. Bernard was in the garden harvesting tomatoes. Mrs. Lucy was in the library, reading to the younger folks. Mr. Arthur was in the kitchen preparing stew for everyone. Mr. Robert. Look, Peter showed me the guest book. Families are already coming to learn about the project. Some are children who realized what they did. Some ask for forgiveness. Others just want to see that their parents are okay. And do the residents welcome their families? Some do. Some do not. Each one decides their own boundaries. That is the beautiful part. Here, they learn that they can say no. That night, sitting on my balcony with my coffee, I thought about the entire journey. From that Tuesday when Mike gave me the ultimatum, to today, exactly 14 months had passed. 14 months in which I lost a house but gained dignity. 14 months in which I lost a son but got back a man. 14 months in which I lost a toxic family but built a healthy community. My cell phone vibrated. A message from Mike. Dad, Sarah and I are looking at apartments. We found one we like. 3 bedrooms. Close to your place. Do you want to come see it with us tomorrow? We want Grandpa close by when the baby arrives. I read the message 3 times. Baby, I called immediately. Mike, a baby. His laughter filled the line. Sarah is pregnant. Dad, you are going to be a grandpa. The world stopped. But this time, out of happiness. Mike, I do not know what to say. Say, you will come see the apartment tomorrow. I will be there. When I hung up, I stared up at the stars, the same stars that Mary loved to gaze at, and I spoke to her in silence. My love, our grandchild is on the way. I wish you were here to see it. But rest easy. This time, I am going to teach him right. I am going to teach him about dignity, about respect, about boundaries. I will teach him that loving does not mean erasing yourself, that caring does not mean permitting everything, that forgiving does not mean forgetting. A star shined a little brighter. As if Mary agreed, the next day, we went to see the apartment. It was perfect, bright, with a small room that would be for the baby. Just 15 minutes from my place. What do you think? Dad, Mike asked. I think you are going to be very happy here. Sarah hugged me. Mr. Robert, we want to ask you for one more thing. Tell me. Sweetheart, we want to name him Robert. After you. If it is a boy. I could not hold back my tears. That would be the greatest honor of my life. Today, as I recount these final lines, the sun is setting on my balcony. I am 68 years old, with a life full of work, to sacrifice, but also of learning. I lost a $500,000 house, but I gained something priceless. My dignity, my peace, my freedom. My grandson will be born in 5 months, and when he is old enough to understand, I am going to tell him this story. I will tell him that his grandfather learned the most important lesson of his life when he was already an old man. I will teach him that it is never, ever too late to choose yourself. That love without respect is poison. That family is built with actions, not with blood. That forgiving is possible, but forgetting is not necessary. And that dignity I fought for, is the one thing no one can take away from you unless you let them. But life, as always, had one final lesson to teach me. It was a Thursday afternoon, 3 months after finding out I was going to be a grandfather. I was in the workshop finishing a wooden crib for my grandson when the phone rang. Mr. Robert, yes. Speaking. I am calling from the General Hospital. Your son Mike was admitted an hour ago. A car accident. It is not critical, but he is requesting your presence. The world stopped. I am on my way. I arrived at the hospital running. Ray had driven me in his car. My hands were shaking as I asked at the front desk. Room 302. I took the stairs 2 at a time. I opened the door. And there was Mike, a bandage on his head, his arm in a cast, but conscious. Sarah was by his side. pale but holding it together. Dad. His voice came out weak. I ran to him and hugged him carefully. What happened? Son, some idiot ran a red light. T-boned my side. The car is totaled, but I am okay. Sarah is okay. The baby is okay. Tears flowed uncontrollably. Thank God. Thank God. I sat next to him. Sarah squeezed my hand. Mr. Robert. Mike would not stop repeating your name. The first thing he said when he woke up was, "Call my dad." Mike looked at me with watery eyes. Dad, when I felt the impact, when the car started spinning, I only thought of one thing, that I could die without having told you how much I love you, without having thanked you enough for giving me another chance. Son, no. Dad, let me say it. I have wanted to tell you this properly for months. You saved me. When you kicked me out, when you set those boundaries, you saved me from becoming a horrible man. You saved me from losing myself forever. He wiped his tears with his good hand. Today, I could have lost everything. My life, my wife, my son on the way. And I realized that none of that would be here if you had not had the courage to say enough is enough. If you had kept putting up with it, if you had forgiven me easily, I would still be that blind, manipulable man with no dignity. I squeezed his hand. Mike, you do not have to. Dad, forgive me, not for what happened a year ago. We already talked about that. Forgive me for the years before that, for all the times I took your love for granted, for all the times I did not ask how you were doing, for all the times I did not see your sacrifice. Sarah stepped out discreetly, leaving us alone. Dad, when my son is born, I want to be half the father you were, half the man you are, and I want my son to grow up knowing his grandfather, the strongest, most dignified, bravest man I know. I could not speak. I just cried. I cried for all the past pain, for all the present love, and for the entire future we could now finally build together. I love you. To son, I have always loved you, even when I had to walk away. I know, Dad, I know now. That night, while Mike slept from the painkillers, Sarah and I sat in the hospital waiting room. Mr. Robert, I need to tell you something. Tell me. Sweetheart, when I met Mike, he told me the whole story. Everything. The house. Jessica. The ultimatum. All of it. And do you know what I thought? What did you think that this man had an extraordinary father who taught him the most important lesson of his life? Because, Mr. Robert, Mike would not be the man he is today if you had not had the courage to set boundaries. She grabbed my hand. I grew up watching my mom endure my dad's abuse for years. She never set boundaries. She never said, enough is enough. And when she finally left, it was too late. She was broken. You left in time. You chose yourself in time. Her eyes shined. And because of that, Mike learned, because of that, I have a husband who respects me, who values me, who knows that love comes with dignity. Thank you for that. She hugged me and cried. And I did too. Mike was in the hospital for 3 days. I visited him every single day. I brought homemade food, chicken soup, eris, beans. We would sit and talk about everything and nothing. About the baby, about the crib I was carving, about his plans for the future. Dad, Sarah and I have been talking about what we want you to live with us when the baby is born. My heart raced. Mike, wait. Let me explain. Not like before. Not like in that house where things were bad. This would be different. The apartment has 3 bedrooms. One for us, one for the baby, and one for you, with your own key to your own space. You would come and go as you pleased. No schedules, no demands, no chore lists, Sarah chimed in. Mr. Robert, we do need your help with the baby. It is true. But more than that, we want our son to grow up seeing his grandfather every single day, seeing how an elder is respected, seeing what dignity looks like. I am not an elder just yet. I smiled. Sorry, sir. Seeing what the dignity of an older gentleman looks like. Sarah laughed. Let me think about it. But deep down, I already knew the answer. A week later, Ray and I were drinking coffee on his patio. Are you going to move in with them? He asked. Direct as always. I think so. Are you sure? Remember everything you went through? Ray, it is not the same. This time I am invited, respected, with clear boundaries, and if at any point I feel things are going wrong, I leave. No guilt, no fear. He nodded. Then go. But promise me something. What? That you will never forget your worth again. That you will never accept disrespect again. That your boundaries stay firm. No matter what happens. I promise you. Brother. We hugged. And my guest room will always be available just in case you need it. I moved in with Mike and Sarah 2 weeks later. But I did not touch my apartment. I kept it. Paying the rent. It was my safety net, my backup plan, my reminder that I could always choose myself. The first few months were beautiful. Sarah was in the final months of her pregnancy. I helped with whatever I could. I cooked a few meals, accompanied Sarah to her doctor's appointments when Mike was working. I finished setting up the baby's room. But the difference between this and my previous experience was monumental. Mike would get home from work and ask, Dad, did you eat yet? Do you need anything? Sarah would set the table and insist. Mr. Robert, you sit down. You have done enough today. When I cooked, it was because I wanted to, not because I had to. When I helped, it was because I offered, not because it was demanded of me. And when I needed space, I closed my bedroom door and no one bothered me. One night, while the 3 of us were eating dinner, Sarah commented, Mr. Robert, a friend came to visit me yesterday. When I told her you live with us, she made a weird face. What did she say? She said, Your father-in-law lives with you, oh girl. What a sacrifice. And I replied, It is not a sacrifice. It is a blessing. Mike grabbed my hand across the table. It is the truth. Dad, you are a blessing. The baby was born on a Tuesday. Yes, another Tuesday. But this time, it was the best Tuesday of my life. Little Robbie, 7 pounds, black hair, huge eyes, powerful lungs. When the nurse placed him in my arms for the first time, I felt the circle closing. There I was, at 68 years old, holding my grandson, the son of my son. The continuation of our story. Look here. Little Robbie, I whispered to him, your grandpa is going to teach you a lot of things. He is going to teach you how to work with wood. He is going to teach you to be strong. But above all, he is going to teach you to never forget your worth. Mike was next to me, crying. Thank you, Dad, for everything, for not turning your back on me, for teaching me the lesson I needed, for being here. I am always going to be here. Is CERN, but now on my terms, with dignity. The first few months with little Robbie were intense. Sleepless nights, diapers, bottles, but I helped happily because it was my decision. Sarah would nurse him at 2 in the morning, and I would bring her chamomile tea. Mike would wake up at 4 for the diaper change, and I would keep him company with coffee. We were a team. A real family. One Sunday, Mike asked to speak to me alone. Dad, I have to confess something. My heart raced. What is wrong? The other day, some friends came over to meet little Robbie, and one of them commented, "How lucky that your dad lives with you so he can help out for free. Saves you money on a nanny." And I almost kicked him out of my house. Mike looked angry. I told him, "My dad is not the nanny. My dad is my dad, and he is here because we asked him for the honor of sharing his life with us. Not because we need him as an employee." I felt a lump in my throat. "And I want you to know, Dad, that if one day, if you ever feel that we are not respecting you, if you feel that things resemble even a tiny bit to how they were with Jessica, tell me, and we fix it. Or you leave without guilt. Because I would rather lose you with dignity than have you here without respect." I hugged him tight. "Thank you, Hassan." That is all I needed to hear. 6 months have passed since little Robbie was born. And today, as I write these final lines, I have him sleeping in my arms. I look at this child, and I think about the entire journey, from that Tuesday when Mike gave me the ultimatum, to this Tuesday where I rock his son to sleep. I lost a house. I gained a family. I lost a toxic relationship. I gained a healthy one. I lost my fear. I gained my dignity, and now I have a grandson who is going to grow up seeing his grandfather respected, valued, properly loved. Last week, the Robert House celebrated its first anniversary. I went to the celebration with Mike, Sarah, and little Robbie. The residents are happy. Some reconnected with their families. Others chose not to, but all of them are there by their own choice. Living with dignity. Mr. Bernard hugged me. "Mr. Robert, you saved us all. And you saved yourself. We saved each other." Mr. Bernard, as we walked through the garden where my plants used to be, where fresh vegetables now grow, Mike commented, "Dad, this house has more life now than ever, because now it is full of second chances." That night, back at the apartment, I laid little Robbie in his crib, the crib I had carved with my own hands, the same hands that built a house, the same hands that set boundaries, the same hands that now rock my grandson. Sarah walked into the room. "Mr. Robert, thank you so much for everything you do. It is nothing." "Sweetheart?" "Yes, it is. And I want you to know something. Mike and I made a will. So young, when a child is born, you have to think about these things. And in the will, you are little Robbie's guardian if anything happens to us. Because there is no one better to raise him than the man who raised Mike, and who had the courage to correct him when it was necessary. I could not hold back the tears. It would be the greatest honor of my life. Today, I am 69 years old. I live in an apartment that is not legally mine. But where I am respected, I help raise my grandson, not as an obligation, but as a privilege. I keep selling my furniture. I keep volunteering. I keep living. Do I regret losing a $500,000 house? No, not for a single second. Because that house, now the Robert House, is saving lives. It is giving second chances. It is doing what it was always meant to do. A home full of love and dignity. And I have something far better than a luxurious house. I have respect. I have peace. I have a family that values me. I have a son who learned the most important lesson of his life. I have a daughter-in-law who sees me as a blessing, not a burden, and I have a grandson who is going to grow up knowing his grandfather is a dignified, strong, brave man. Today, as I watch little Robbie sleep, as I listen to Mike and Sarah laughing in the living room, as I feel this peace I had not felt in years, I know I made the right choice. I lost a house. I won my life back, and that has no price.